Update. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my husband after he went to go see and comfort his ex-girlfriend? Original post. I, 32 female, and my husband, 38 male, have been married for 3 years. Our relationship has had its ups and downs, but we're a relatively happy couple. Though at the beginning of our relationship, he was also dating Angela, 24 female 5 years ago. I was unaware of this other relationship, but when I found out, I confronted him, and he told me that since we weren't officially dating, he didn't know we were exclusive. I told him that if he didn't cut off the relationship with Angela, I was going to break it off. We left it at that and didn't talk for a while. Then he came to my apartment unexpectedly weeks later, saying it was over with Angela and that he wanted to try again and asked me to be his girlfriend. Ever since then, we have been a pretty normal couple. We have our moments, but our relationship is going well, and I believe he is my soulmate. Recently, though, there's been an issue in our relationship. Angela. 3 weeks ago, we were out running errands and went to a small boba shop that had just opened up next to our local grocery store. As we were off to the side looking at the menu, from the corner of my eye, I saw a woman that looked similar to Angela walk in. I did a double take, and sure enough, it was her. I felt an intense amount of dread and hope that my husband didn't see her. As I was internally panicking, I heard a woman's voice call for my husband, and as you might have guessed, it was Angela. My husband turned around and they had a small but awkward conversation. The whole time, I just dissociated and stared off into the distance until she asked my husband, "Is that your wife?" To which he just nodded and held my hand. I pretty much just awkwardly smiled and prayed the encounter would end. Eventually, she got in line and we waited behind her. I felt so embarrassed. I immediately got our drinks and left. That was that, until 2 weeks ago when I saw my husband's phone light up with a Facebook Messenger notification. I asked him who it was from, as he never uses Messenger. He said it was from an old friend. I asked who, and he said I wouldn't know. I became suspicious but wasn't necessarily worried because I just assumed it was a friend. Until a few days later, when he got another Facebook Messenger notification while I was ordering food off his phone. It was from Angela. I was shocked and confused. I went to their messages and everything seemed friendly and casual, though because of their history, I felt very uncomfortable with them talking. I went up to him and confronted him about the texts and asked why she was texting him. He told me that after running into her, she friended him on Facebook and they began talking. He assured me it was all casual, but I still told him I didn't want him talking to her. He assured me he would stop. I told him to unfriend her, which he hesitated to do but eventually did. There was no issue or word from Angela until last night. From what I know, she spam messaged my husband and even called him crying, telling him that her mother was sick. I guess he knew her mother and felt sympathy toward her. Angela vented to him about how she had no one and just needed someone to comfort her. She asked my husband if he could come and be there for her, to which he said yes. I had no idea he was doing this until I saw him putting his shoes on near the door. I asked him where he was going, and he told me the story about Angela's mom and that she needed someone to be with her. I told him not to go and we had a small argument. He was rushing out the door, so I blocked him and said that if he was going to see and comfort his ex-girlfriend, he wasn't allowed back in. He scoffed and pushed past me. I watched as he left. I went back inside, poured a few drinks, and tried my hardest not to cry or blow up his phone. Eventually, 3 hours passed and he came back home. I sat on the couch the whole time, and as he came in, I told him he wasn't allowed to sleep here. He was shocked, and we got into another argument. To cut it short, he told me he had nowhere to go, so I told him maybe he should go to Angela's since they seem to help each other a lot. He then left again, and I haven't heard anything from him. I'm currently staying up and have had a few drinks. I decided to post this on Reddit because I feel like I might have overreacted and been the a-hole. I just need advice on how to handle this whole situation, as I'm barely able to process what to do. I'm sorry if this was long. I needed to vent. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. I just realized the age difference between your husband and Angela. He was dating a teenager while in his 30s? He's freaking foul for that, and please do not have kids with this creep. I honestly did not know much about this girl. I only knew he was dating her because he got tagged in an Instagram post of them together 5 years ago. I went on her account, and there was nothing about her age. I didn't fully stalk her, but I did enough to see that they were dating and to remember her face. Eventually, that's when the confrontation happened. I never asked about her, and I tried my hardest not to go look at her account. I have self-esteem issues, and I didn't want to compare myself. It wasn't until around the time we got engaged that I decided to ask him about the whole Angela situation. That's when I found out about her age. Supposedly, the way they met was that she went to his job and struck up a conversation with him. She asked to go on a date, lied to him and said she worked at the company, and claimed she was 23. They went on dates, and after 2 months, she confessed her real age and that she didn't actually work there. She was 19 turning 20 and had actually found him by going on apps like LinkedIn to find guys with higher paying jobs. Nope, she's looking to get back with him, and he is either stupid for believing her or knows she's lying and doesn't care. Whichever is the case, leave his butt outside. The girlfriend that my husband dated just before me kept calling my mother-in-law until they retired and moved to Arizona. We were married for 7 years by that time. When Facebook first came out, he signed up. She contacted him within a day and wanted to catch up. He blocked her. This is what he should have done without hesitation. I'm sorry he didn't. Not the a-hole. Small update. I eventually went to sleep and sent a text that I was sick and wasn't coming into work today. It's currently 2 p.m. where I live, and I've just been napping and kind of out of it. I haven't heard from him at all, and he hasn't come back home. I'm kind of worried as I don't know where he's at. His location has been off since yesterday. I might send him a text later to make sure he's okay. I don't know if this is a good idea, as I'm not in the best mindset right now and have been in zombie mode. As of now, I'm trying to process what even happened, as it went by so fast. I'll keep you all updated if anything happens. Thank you all again. Now for the first full update. Hi everyone, it's been 8 days since I posted my original post, and I finally have an update for you all. I'm sorry it took so long, but I've been sick. This is going to be long, so I apologize as I have to address a few things. I want to first say thank you to those who gave helpful and supportive comments, and to those who said I drove my husband straight into another woman's arms, or that I was hostile and controlling. First, if my husband was willing to go to another woman when in an argument with his wife, then is he really my husband? I mean, I have some standards. I wouldn't marry an awful person. Second, to those who said I was controlling and hostile toward Angela, if you have a partner and are okay with them doing something like this, then that's within your boundaries, not mine. I don't like having contact with exes or having my husband be in contact with his exes. Finally, the age gap. I explained the story of how they met in a comment, but to sum it up, she originally lied about her age. I didn't know her age or anything about her until I was engaged. Okay, on to what happened. He eventually came home later that day. I was watching TV on the couch when he walked in. We looked at each other and didn't say anything. He went to our room, took a shower, and fell asleep. I was still upset with him, so I avoided checking on him or even talking to him. I waited in the living room and kitchen until a few hours later when he woke up. I decided to make dinner. He came out, sat on the couch, and we ate in silence before he asked if I wanted to talk. I said I did, and he explained what happened. From what he told me, when we saw her at the boba shop, she had friended him on Facebook later that day. He didn't friend her back though, and ignored it. Eventually, a few days later, she sent him a message request. This is when he handed me his phone to see the messages. To sum it up, she texted him a few times over a range of days without a response, from pleasantries to updates about her life, and finally a suicidal message. Now, I don't know what's allowed to be said in this subreddit, but my husband did respond out of worry for another person, or so he claimed. They talked a lot about her addictions, self-harm, and other very personal things relating to that. Through reading, I found out she had a boyfriend and that he was actually 51 years old. My husband calmed her down and they stopped talking for a few days. Then she reached out again and the same thing happened. This repeated again. He wouldn't respond until she guilted him to. When I had found out and told him to block her, he actually didn't block her out of fear, but he didn't respond to her messages again until that night. She had actually sent very concerning messages beforehand and called him on Messenger. He answered, and he said she was wailing and screaming in pain. Now, I don't want to say too much, but she had told him she attempted something serious by taking a bunch of pills because of her mother, which is why he rushed to her. When he got there, he told me she was acting strangely and almost pretending to have done what she claimed. He tried to get her to go to the hospital, but she refused. After pleading for a while, he was getting ready to call 911 when she confessed she didn't actually take any pills. He was confused and asked why she said she did. She couldn't give him a clear answer. My husband was going to leave, but she begged him to let her explain again. She said her mom is the only person who cares about her and that she needed somebody with her after she found out her mom was sick, and that she had no one but my husband, and my husband wouldn't have come otherwise if it wasn't urgent. My husband wasn't buying it, so he asked if her mom was even sick. She denied it, but seemed to be lying. My husband then left. He told me he just stayed in his car for a while before coming back home, and that's when the confrontation happened. He said he was very tired and felt horrible, so he wasn't in the right headspace to explain right then and there. He also told me he didn't go back to Angela's, but instead just stayed in his car, got food, and pretty much wandered around town until he got home later that day. After this, I felt very overwhelmed. I usually like to take time to myself to process things before making a decision or response, so I told him I needed time. I didn't interact with him until the next morning and told him I needed more time before talking to him again and was going to stay with my parents for a few days. And now we're here. A few days actually turned into a week because as soon as I got here, I got sick, so I haven't felt good enough to even drive back home, much less process or think much. I secretly don't even know how or what to do. Like, how do we just go back to normal? I still feel betrayed, and even though he didn't cheat, I don't trust him, and I don't even know if he's telling the truth. I mean, divorce seems extreme for something so minor, but I don't know. I have to go back home tomorrow since I feel a bit better, and I can't hide out here forever. I have responsibilities, even though it's been a nice escape, and being with my family has been great. I haven't talked much to my husband except through texts, so tomorrow will be our first face-to-face conversation in a week. So that's the update. What actually reminded me to write this was that I got a random message request on Instagram from a burner account. It's a picture, and I'm kind of scared to open it. I know it's probably a scam thing, but something in my gut is telling me it's connected to Angela, and I don't know if I should open it. Edit. So I opened the picture. It was a screenshot from what I assume is Angela's private story of her in lingerie with a caption that says, "She'll just have to taste me when she's kissing him." He also told me he didn't go back to Angela's, but instead just stayed in his car, got food, and pretty much wandered town until he got home later that day. Yeah, so he did nothing with her, but decided the best thing to do was make it look like he stayed over? Sure, Jen. OP, if you buy that crock, I've got a big shiny orange bridge I can sell you. I would need a lot more proof somehow than is lame. I stayed in my car instead of sleeping with my ex excuse. And made a beeline for the shower when he got home from sitting in his car and bumming around town? Right. And disabled the tracking on his phone. You know, because that's what normal people do when helping someone who's suicidal. Well, the good news is that you're not the only one who's been feeling sick lately. The bad news is that it's not just physical, it's also emotional after reading this update. Hang in there, OP. I feel like emotionally, I've been struggling a lot as I don't really know what to do or how to process this. I want to go to my husband and ask for his help like always, but I know I can't. Especially if I can't even trust his word, and I don't know if I'll even have my husband soon. I'm very lost. I'm dreading going back home and facing the music. Send him the picture and ask what that's all about. I saved the photo and I'm planning on doing so later tonight. I'm very anxious when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I'm trying to calm my nerves first. Now for the final update 2 months later. Hi everyone, it's been a while, and I know an update has been overdue. I feel like I can finally give you all one now. It's been a few weeks, and a lot of stressful things have happened, so I apologize for not updating sooner. I finally have a minute to update, and I'm going to try to summarize events as a lot has happened, so I'm sorry if details seem to be missing. When I went back home, my husband wasn't there. He was at work. I contemplated a lot and was very nervous to confront him, as I dislike confrontation and what comes out of it. I was also sick and feeling weak, so I just decided to go to sleep and confront him the next morning. The next morning came and we did talk. At first it was awkward small talk over breakfast. He was being extra sweet though, since he bought me coffee before I woke up. It was nice. I didn't want to make a huge deal out of it, so I just mentioned the picture. He was somehow offended and asked to see it. I showed him, and he said something like, "Oh, it's just song lyrics and means nothing." We went back and forth on this. I don't fully remember what was said, but ultimately I just let it go. I went back to work the next day, and for the next few days, he and I would argue about Angela almost every day. The only times we didn't argue were when we would ignore each other, which was done 90% of the time. I know this was childish of us, but I was mad at him and didn't feel ready to try and repair things. Getting a divorce or separating also felt extreme at the time, as I had no evidence of him cheating. It was just a theory. Work was honestly like an escape, as I had my friends and co-workers there and was able to just be away. For reference, I worked at a small independently owned office as receptionist. I've worked there for 5 years, and it was my favorite job. Our boss was great, pay was good. I had friends there, and the benefits were amazing. And despite occasionally being yelled at over the phone, it was honestly the best job I've ever worked at. Then randomly, at work we started to get prank calls. Now that's not totally unusual, but these ones would happen every day. It would usually be someone just screaming and then hanging up. We were instructed to wait for the other person to speak first during these. After a few days, the prank calls stopped, but we started getting calls from different people asking to talk to our boss, which was odd because rarely would we get that request. This happened multiple times a day for a few days. My boss usually sends these calls to voicemail as he's busy. A few days later, I was about to leave when he asked if I could stay for a bit and talk to him in his office. I did, and this is where he showed me the voicemails and asked if I knew any of these people. They were all complaints about me. I didn't recognize any of the voices, so I said no. My boss assumed these weren't real, but wanted to try and find out who these people might be. Because of this, when someone would call and ask to talk to our boss, we had to ask for a phone number and name. Some would provide it, some wouldn't. Eventually, this would happen every single hour again, all complaints about me. My boss decided to just send me home for a few days to see if the calls would stop. They didn't. A few days turned into a week, and then I got a call and was fired. From what my co-workers told me, the calls continued, and my boss was just sick of it. He had to call back each time and decided it was just easier to fire me. I suspect this was Angela and her friends doing this to try to get me fired, and they succeeded. During the week I was home, it was driving me crazy, as sometimes I would have to be home with my husband, and all I wanted to do was just argue. No issues, until I caught him stalking Angela's Instagram. He would sleep on the couch and I would sleep in the room. I caught him when I saw him on his phone from the hallway. I was honestly just tired from it all, so I did blow up at him. His excuse was that he just wanted to check up on her. When I told him I was fired and that I suspected it was Angela, he basically called me crazy and said she would never do anything like that. I was so drained that I didn't even argue. In fact, I didn't even talk to him anymore, which is probably why he felt it was okay to come home late one night, drunk, with faded lipstick on and glitter. We had another argument, and he left. He didn't come back for days and sent flowers and my favorite food to me with a note that said, "I'm sorry, I love you." He came home later that day and looked pretty distraught and wanted to explain. I let him. His reasoning was that he felt awful about how our relationship was and needed to distress from it. He went out with a few friends for drinks, and some girl kissed him and was dancing up on him. He said he rejected her immediately and felt disgusted. I don't know if I believe that still. I asked about Angela and if he was still talking to her. to which he said no, but she did reach out a few times and he did see her once. I asked if they ever slept with each other and he said no, but she kissed him and he rejected her. I asked a whole bunch of other questions about our relationship, and some of the answers did hurt. I told him I wanted to separate just for a little bit. He broke down crying and begged me not to leave him. I apologized and packed most of my things as he was on his knees next to me, apologizing. I ignored him and left. For the last 2 weeks, I've been at my parents' house. I finally told them what happened, and they despise him. He's been up here almost daily trying to talk to me, and my parents refuse to let him see me. My parents live in the next town over. He sent me food, flowers, gift cards, literally anything you can DoorDash he sent. I've gotten spam calls and messages from him, and I've blocked him. Yet he's gotten his family and some of my distant relatives to do the same. Honestly, I'm tired of him and have begged him to stop trying to contact me. Obviously, that hasn't worked much. For my next moves, I am thinking of divorce, but I'm just not ready yet. None of this feels real. I just need to take time and heal a little before making that decision. I have a feeling divorce is going to be hard, so I just can't handle that yet. Another option is therapy and trying to reconcile. I'm currently trying to find a job in my parents' town, and I plan to stay here for a while until I'm able to move on fully. Also, I know I didn't talk about her much, but as for Angela, I have no idea if he's talking to her still or anything about her, and I want to keep it that way. I don't think there's going to be another update since our relationship is pretty much over. Thank you to those who checked up on me and commented advice. I'm forever grateful. You're better off without him and his crazy ex-girlfriend OP. Ask your boss if you can't get a list of the numbers that called in and left messages about you. You'll likely be able to trace them back to Angela. Explain to him you were being stalked. You may have a case for wrongful termination, and I highly suggest you talk to a lawyer or file a police report about what she did. Absolutely, I agree. And don't forget, you put up with so much disrespect and emotional damage that kicking him out was overdue. He crossed line after line, defended his ex over you, dismissed your pain, and possibly cost you your job. His apologies only came when consequences hit. Take all the time you need to heal. You owe him nothing. You made the right call. With all this drama and mental anguish, and if you don't have kids, divorce sounds like the best thing for you. The trust is broken and it will truly never be back. No kids definitely simplifies the escape. Healing apart seems wise. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I'll divorce him if he doesn't agree to a fertility test? My husband and I have been married for a year now. Everything seemed fine until around the 3rd month of our marriage, when he suddenly woke me up in the middle of the night to say he wanted us to adopt a child. I was shocked. It felt so sudden and out of nowhere. I asked him why, and he said he just didn't want to deal with the stress of pregnancy and childbirth. I was confused, but I calmly told him that I would be the one carrying the child, not him. All I needed was his support, and that I was okay with going through pregnancy. He didn't like that response, but we let the topic go that night. Months later, he brought it up again, more insistently this time, still giving the same reason. I started to feel like something was off. As time went on, his behavior began to change. He became distant, cold, and just not himself. Every time I tried to talk to him, the conversation circled back to adopting a child. Then he pointed out that it had been 8 months, and I hadn't gotten pregnant yet. I suggested we both get tested to check our fertility. He flat out refused. I went alone and got checked, and my doctor told me everything looked fine with me. I brought the test results home, hoping they would bring some relief, but he barely looked at them. No reaction, no support, no relief. I asked him again to please go for a test himself so we could move forward together, and he completely refused. He still keeps saying he just wants us to adopt. At this point, I feel like I'm living with a stranger. He avoids emotional conversations, barely talks to me, and the warmth in our home is gone. Last week, I told him directly that I couldn't keep living like this, and if he wouldn't agree to at least get tested, I would file for divorce. Later that evening, his best friend showed up. And after talking with my husband, he pulled me aside and asked if I wasn't being too unreasonable by bringing up divorce over something like this. So, am I the a-hole for standing my ground and threatening divorce over this? Now for the top comments. No, this isn't about adoption. He's hiding something. He's not communicating. Inability to communicate and acting like a toddler when you don't get your way is absolutely grounds for divorce. You haven't been married a year yet, and he's already acting like this. My favorite part is when he brings his friend to fight his battle instead of talking to his wife. I would be gone at that point if I was OP. He is definitely hiding something, not the a-hole. I am wondering if he had a vasectomy, or if he is hiding a child that they later adopt